Hi, this is Joy Robertson. As many of you know, I love food. I love finding new restaurants. I love trying new dishes. And most of all, I love talking to the many great restaurateurs and entrepreneurs we have here in the Ozarks and beyond. I love hearing their stories, and that's what this podcast is all about, learning more about them and their journey. So join me as we savor the Ozarks. Hey, everybody, it's Joy. I just want to take a quick second to give you a little background on the conversation you're about to hear on today's Savor the Ozarks podcast. I talked to several notable people at the 2024 National Restaurant Show in Chicago, some from here in the Show Me State, others who have made a name for themselves in the culinary world in a really big way. Okay, in this episode, we're going to learn about the show itself, its history, its relevance, why the people in the Ozarks should care, and why what happens at the NRA show will very likely affect the food you eat out and the food you eat at home. I am at the National Restaurant Show in Chicago with Lisa Malikow. And Lisa, your title is?
I am the Senior Vice President of Event Operations and Programming for the show. So I oversee all of the logistics of moving the 2,200 exhibitors into the building, getting everyone their badges, getting everyone upstairs, but also all the education programming and demos and all the fun stuff. So,
how many attendees are usually at this show?
We usually get between around 55,000 and 60,000 total people at the show. So it's, just moving in like a large city for just a week at a time.
Is there a country that doesn't show up to this show, or does every country in the world show up every single year? Probably close to it.
Probably close to it. We don't have every country, but we do have people here from all 50 states, as well as 112 different countries. So I'm sure there's more countries than that, but we get a lot of them.
So I get a lot of people when I come to this show, they say, why do you go to the show? And first of all, it's because I'm a foodie. I love it. I love keeping my eye on food trends. I do freelance writing and obviously podcasts. But I love meeting the people in this industry. And what people need to pull back and realize is the importance of the food service industry globally. And then to a large degree, this show represents so much of that. Talk about what the show is for.
So our show is for food service professionals and really any job function at a food service establishment. So we have 900 different product categories at the show. So anything a restaurateur could possibly need from their business, from insurance to real estate to new ovens to different food products. And our show really is that basis for inspiring the new menu ideas and the things that consumers will see at restaurants in the future. So it's, I think, really for them about keeping their businesses alive and fresh and delivering on that hospitality to all of their customers. And they can learn about how to do that and how to improve upon that here at the show.
Because there are sessions, educational sessions, where people can go and learn and they can meet like-minded people in their same business. But I want you to wow me for a second about literally the size, the footprint of this show. I, on my way over here, checked my steps. And by about 2:30, I had already reached about 10,000 steps just walking around the show. How big is this?
So our show is over 720,000 net square feet of exhibit space. So for those of you that watch American football, as many of us do, that is about 12 and a half football fields worth of exhibit space. So if you think about having to kind of walk up and down the field over and over again, visiting all the people at every yard line, that's what this is like. So it's definitely an event you have to wear your walking shoes to, for sure.
It's like Mecca for me, Lisa, honestly. It's everywhere you look, there's a little bite of food and a little something to sip on, and you get to talk to the people behind it and the flavors and the changes, and it's just so much fun. So what are some of the trends and the things that you're seeing this year that you haven't seen in years past?
So I think what the big story here is really all the technology that's just kind of inundating even other product categories that aren't, what you first think of technology for. So we have technology companies, right? There's lots of technology that goes into cash registers and inventory management, all that. But I'm talking about the technology that's in many of the equipment that's manufacturer stuff that's coming out. I mean, AI-based things, everything that's going to make the kitchen more efficient and more sustainable and just more tech forward, and that just really makes the speed of service move faster. The quality of food is kept at its highest level, and it's so interesting to see technology sort of thread itself through many different product categories, ones that you might not normally think of as being tech oriented. And then I think on the food side, we are just really still seeing so much in plant-based. It isn't going away. I think people last year thought, the bubble's going to burst. And the bubble hasn't burst, but what has happened is that there's been this refinement in quality on plant-based foods. And the things that the food manufacturers are coming out with are just wild and good. I mean, one of our award recipients for the FABI Awards, which is a food and beverage awards program that we run, is a plant-based pate. And the judges for that awards program, when they were talking about it, were just raving about the texture, the taste, and just really a different offering. And it wasn't exactly a replacement for other kind of pates. It was just something that you could add additionally that even meat eaters would want to have. So it's good to see that type of innovation happening that people are really going to start seeing in the menus.
All the FABI Award winners are incredibly deserving. Are there other ones that stood out to you this year?
Ooh, well, I think I just have my favorites. They're not necessarily new, but they're the ones that I think, here in Chicago, Vienna Beef is like a huge hot dog company in the Chicago area, and I've lived in Chicago since 2001, so it was one of my first stops. Definitely, we've got kind of the dueling hot dog booths here in the North building, because there's the Vienna Beef booth and then the Nathan's booth. So you got to kind of see who has the longest line.
Are either of them in the FABI Awards this year?
Not this year, but they have been in the past.
You slept through your alarm, missed the train, and your breakfast sandwich, cold. Sounds like you could use some luck.
I'm Victoria Cash, and Lucky Land is where people go every day to get lucky. At Lucky Land, you can play over 100 casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Go to LuckyLandSlots.com and get lucky today. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
Another booth that's just having some great sampling is the Kraft Heinz booth.
I was just there.
Were you just there? It's first of all, their booth is beautiful, right? Just very inviting and different things. But I think just being able to see some of their products that some people, in their minds are really more traditional, but used in different ways. And I think that that's a cool way to display their products for sure. And the Wienermobile is here in the Lakeside Center. So the Kraft Heinz team's spread out across the building. So
okay, I'm going to show you something real quick on my phone. Speaking of Kraft Heinz, I was just there. And this is wild. Okay, I saw Jeff Morrow. Chef Jeff Morrow did the Sandwich King.
He's cool.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
He did an interview with me last year. Check me out. I made the Kraft Heinz.
That's a great picture.
Thank you. No joke. That's from last year.
Oh my
last
gosh.
year. I was on the phone with my husband. I looked up and I go, as God is my witness, I just saw myself on the Kraft Heinz TV. Isn't that the weirdest thing ever?
That's great, though. I mean, and you're obviously enjoying that sample, which is good.
Well, that's that, and forgive me because I can't really remember the name of it, but it's where they mix the ketchup with the you can mix ranch with barbecue and whatever. And I was having my way with the sauces.
Yeah.
And they have that this year, and it's a big deal. So you're right, the innovation that they've come up with. They have a plant-based mac and cheese that's good. Have you had it?
I have not yet, but I have heard about it. So I think whenever anything is buzzy enough that it gets up to us in the show office, it means it's pretty good. So
have you had the Lunchables grilled cheese?
I have had that. So
okay.
Yeah.
I had it a little while ago, and I'm like, this is so. I mean, you can stick that thing in the microwave for 1 minute and have a crispy grilled cheese come out on the other side. Unbelievable. Okay, restaurant industry-wise, there are numbers out there, and I'm not asking you to remember exactly, but like, what are some of those numbers that the X amount of the population typically works in a restaurant at some point in their life? It's huge.
Yeah, I actually just heard this morning. The CEO of the National Restaurant Association was talking to the mayor of Chicago. He was doing a tour of the show, and she said that 2 out of every 3 Americans have worked in a restaurant at some point in their life. And, I've known that to be true. I think about like my first job I ever had when I was 15 years old was at a restaurant. I bussed tables at a small independent restaurant in Royal Oak, Michigan, and it gives you this basis to do other things. And she was saying how, people that have had jobs in a restaurant, no matter what they go do, if they continue in food service or in the restaurant industry, or if they go into, medical fields or whatever, restaurants really give people the basis for any type of career they could have, because it requires teamwork, being able to deal with people, customer service, and so all these really life skills that can get translated into many different industries. So the restaurant industry is so amazing, and I've been lucky to do this show for about 15 years, and just to be able to kind of be industry adjacent, and be part of it is a real delight.
Well, and you mentioned the medical industry. I have been to the show before and chatted with people who are here representing hospitals, because hospitals have dietary needs with patients and cafeterias and gift shops and things like that. And then the military. The military, they feed a lot of troops around the world, and there are people whose job it is to come to a show like this and figure out a more efficient, more cost-friendly, and frankly, a more delicious way to do it.
Yeah, and it even extends into other, types of industries that you would literally never think of. I was speaking to someone last week who was coming to the show, and just asked them a little bit about what they do, and they're the head of food preparation at the Brookfield Zoo here in the Chicago area, and it wasn't for the consumer outlets for the attendees, it was for the animals.
For the giraffes?
And they were like, the same type of thought, like about the nutrition content and the, taste goes into that for the animals too. And it honestly blew my mind, but I was like, well, of course, they need to eat well too, So it was, it's cool. This show can really, there's so many different segments of it, you wouldn't even know half of them exist, so.
Right, and everybody eats. But from where I'm standing, I'm looking around and I'm seeing, there's Uber Eats over there. There's some dishes and glasses over here. I see flatware, and then there's Nathan's, and then there's Vienna. And I look over here, I see Coca-Cola, and I see Pepsi, and I see robotics, and I see ingredients, and I see spices. And, the one thing about this show is that you do have to be involved in the restaurant industry one way or the other to come, because otherwise you couldn't fit everybody in here. But everybody loves the show.
Yeah, it is, it is open to trade only, but I think what is exciting about that, though, is that it's really like training the people that if you're a foodie and you're listening to this podcast, like the stuff that the restaurants that you're going to are serving can be found here. And so it's but I always, once you work at the show for a little bit, I do tend to go to a restaurant and then I look on the bottom of my fork to see what brand it is, and I was like, are they an exhibitor of ours? Are they not?
It's so much fun. It's so much fun. Anyway, Lisa Malikow from the National Restaurant Show, you've got stuff to do, okay? So I'm going to let you go, but thank you so much for spending time with me, and I'm going to be here for a few more days. Who knows who I'm going to find to talk to, but if nothing else, I hope to see you back next year.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
You slept through your alarm, missed the train, and your breakfast sandwich, cold. Sounds like you could use some luck.
I'm Victoria Cash, and Lucky Land is where people go every day to get lucky. At Lucky Land, you can play over 100 casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Go to LuckyLandSlots.com and get lucky today. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.